Leslie, I'm Thornton here. Hello, hello. It is great to be with you today. Today's topic. Whew, it's going to be a good one. You ready? Okay, here we go. So, today's topic, narcissistic relationships and how it relates to permanent weight loss. So, I believe I have done a topic on this in the past, and I have been asked to make more episodes on narcissism and narcissistic relationships. And it's something that I would say even 1/3 of our clients that come through the program and just people like you who are listening will come to us and say how you've been in a narcissistic relationship, you had a narcissistic parent or parents, and how impactful that can be. Now, I am 100% certain now that I have absolutely been in a relationship, maybe even two, with people who have narcissistic personality disorder or could just be claimed as narcissists. So I do understand on the personal level what that experience is like. And it ain't fun. It's actually awful. And so my intention is to share insights of what I have learned as a result of being in those relationships and how I ended up in those relationships. Because obviously, I consider myself to be a very healthy woman, human being, came from a great family. I thought when I would hear other people being in relationships that were not good at all, it would be like, like, ooh, how did they end up in that? And then I wake up one day realizing that that is my scenario. So it can happen to anyone. And yeah, I have like the cool hypnosis for permanent weight loss lens that I can now see it through. And I want to share it with you to make a difference for you. And again, relate that to your hypnosis for permanent weight loss journey. I will say, of course, I am not a therapist. I've never been a therapist. I'm a registered nurse, and I definitely study human psychology and behaviors every single day of my life and am fascinated by it. Um, so, I'm not a therapist as I talk about this topic. And I think a personal insight is helpful. And I think actually not being a therapist can actually um, be a breath of fresh air, perhaps, to those of you who have narcissistic relationships in your life, or even maybe even tendencies yourself, and to like take some of the diagnosis or the heaviness off it a little bit, although it can be very heavy. So, one thing that I have learned as I've researched about narcissists and narcissistic personality disorder is that it's tricky because narcissists could also be kind of used as narcissists, aka being a jerk. Okay. Like if you're a narcissist, it's just like, what's the difference between being a narcissist and just being a jerk? So to actually be diagnosed technically as a narcissist, one has to own up to the fact that their way of being is causing them problems in their relationships, in their jobs. Like they have to basically say, I have a problem, or even I know that I'm a narcissist. And many narcissists never do that. So right? They don't admit that that's the thing. They're like, well, my life is working. I'm making all this money and everybody pays attention to me and I win all these awards and I'm so smart and blah, blah, blah. So they technically aren't diagnosed, and we might just diagnose them for them as being jerks. um, so that's the kind of difference of it's only diagnosable if somebody goes in and says it's a problem. And of course, that could be with any disorder, but it just has a different thing because of their narcissism. So, yeah, sharing that part. So, and a personality trait, personality traits, I actually wrote down some of the words, but lacking empathy and feeling entitled. They can throw tantrums when they don't get their way, like have big emotional outbursts. They love admiration and attention. They can be very jealous and gaslight. And gaslighting is when someone denies your reality and like don't give you permission to feel what you feel. They might also make you question yourself of like, is that really like, about your reality, or saying like, oh, like I never said that. They might say that to you. It's like, I listened to something that was saying how as soon as you start to want to in your relationship think like, I need to make a voice memo, like, oh, I need a voice recording to like actually track what's actually happening, that it's probably a questionable relationship to be in if that's the case. um and just very superficial in their way of being. So whew, yeah, I can relate. It Yeah. So with some of those tendencies, the way that I really want to frame this for people is because here at Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, every single person that comes in has stinking thinking. Basically, you have a mindset of like, even though you're doing well in life, there's this part of you that's like, I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. Why can't I get this right? I'm doing it wrong. I am wrong. I'm a bad person. Um, what's wrong with me? It's just like that is something that's being painted all over your life in the background for yourself, which all of that feeling down and bad about yourself is then creating emotions in your body that are not nice. And then you use food or alcohol to numb that away, which then triggers that same voice to come back on that says, what's wrong with you? Why did you do that? Now the scale has gone up. Then you try to starve yourself the next day. You don't eat lunch, or you say, I'm just going to have a salad for dinner. And then you end up way overdoing it again. And that cycle starts over and over and over again. And at the source of it are the fact that you think such negative thoughts and negative ways about yourself. Now, when it comes to a narcissist, they are feeding on, they're pressing those buttons of what you already believe about yourself. So if you believe that you're not good enough, as soon as they start questioning you and your actions, you're actually going to take it on. You're actually going to start questioning yourself, being like, oh, like, am I a bad person? Like, oh, maybe I did forget that I said that. Instead of being trusting yourself and being like, no, I know who I am. No, I definitely know that I said that. No, this is like a right kind of situation like that. So it's just, if there is someone who you're tolerating in your life who you would consider a narcissist or a jerk, there's something that you're getting from that relationship. Now, obviously, if this is a family member, a mother perhaps, or, someone who you can't, take out of your life or have some kind of super healthy boundary with, um, that can be more challenging because it's that. But if it's a significant other, if it's a boyfriend, if it's a husband, no, if it's a husband, that can also be wrapped up. So, if it's your husband or your wife and you have kids and you have a house and all of this stuff together, right? That can also be extremely challenging. And nobody's asking you or telling you that you should leave any relationship, right? Um, and when it comes to narcissists, if you are choosing to stay in a relationship with a narcissist or a jerk, because remember, you can't actually call them a narcissist or diagnose them for them if they're not saying it themselves. They are just a jerk if they're not. Then you need to tame your expectations, if that makes sense. You need to have realistic expectations of what you're going to be able to get from that relationship. So say that you're married to them, you might just kind of know like, hey, we can only talk about these topics, because if we dance in any of these conversations, they're going to put me down. They're going to, right, get into their entitlement mode. I remember when I was in a relationship with a narcissist, there was a big long line and just completely rudely, took me by the hand, and then we both went further into the line and cut like way into the line. And the person behind us was like, you're a jerk, basically. And like, he just like did this whole like facade to try to pretend that things were okay, and they weren't okay. And um different things like, oh, just bleh, bleh. Okay. Blew up my Facebook uh page at one point and started saying very personal things in like a very attacking way. So being vulnerable with a narcissist, they're kind of putting it into, and I could watch that whenever I would share something with this person that I was dating, that they were like filtering it through this like evil box of like making Leslie evil. And oh, not cool. Okay. I don't even like talking about it because not only is it embarrassing, it's a little terrifying because it's just like to be such a good, honest person that's just trying to put their best foot forward and right, make a great thing happen. So I feel for you if this is something that you've gone through. It's not cool at all. I heard this one therapist talking about how she wishes that all narcissists could be put like onto a separate island. And not only that, that they could not procreate and then everything would be okay. And this therapist was saying how she actually, I mean, millions of people watch these things and she thinks like, she said something absurd, like 50% of people are narcissists or something. And the other thing is that we know that at the core of narcissism, there's a lot of insecurity of that human being. And so, for those of us who also care deeply about human beings, we could see that at the source, they are insecure. And then we feel bad for them. And then we can kind of want to stay with them at the cost of us still being the person who is experiencing all of the nasty things and ways of being that a narcissist could do. So she also was saying, as I was doing this research, that it's very, very, very unlikely that a narcissist can ever change, ever. And that, that they might be able to change a little bit of behaviors. The way that she described it was, she said, like, you could train a narcissist to start being on time, but you can't ever train the narcissist to be kind once they are on time. Okay, so it's like they can tweak those things, but ultimately their way of being. And when stress comes into the situation, they almost always rubber band back into just being this big emotional thing that happens. So yeah, the other thing that I thought was very interesting on narcissists is that they could also, instead of being very grandiose and very entitled and out there, they can also be extremely like nobody gets me victim mentality, and have this arrogance, also kind of like on the right, like it's like this more covert way of being a narcissist, but also emotionally very manipulative, which kind of made me see that another one of my relationships probably was that. Right. So, again, with the permanent weight loss journey, what we are doing here is really finding out what are these deeper thoughts that we have going on in our subconscious that would allow for us to be okay with this type of relationship being in our world. And I'm talking specifically about romantic relationships now. So wherever you're at with it, it's okay. Don't panic. And what can cause us to stay in that relationship is the fact that our thoughts are still negative about ourselves. And so if you're in a relationship with a narcissist right now and you're not ready to end things, or that's too terrifying, that's okay. But let's do the inner work on you so that we can start having you seeing yourself in a really beautiful way and start building back your confidence of like not doubting yourself, all this kind of stuff, so that you can show up in the world and just like, it's just like, it will no longer align with you anymore. You'll just kind of, as soon as you can stop engaging with that conversation. So one of the tips that you can do with communication with a narcissist is don't explain yourself, don't defend yourself, don't justify yourself. when they're saying those things, right? You can just simply say, like, that's not the way that I feel, and end the conversation. There is no point in having text battles back and forth of who said this and who said that. There's no point in having in-person conversations or fights start about it, because as soon as their heads click into that space of that, you're not going to go anywhere. And the real power is to not respond. And what a relief that would be, wouldn't it? To just not have to respond to that, which is great. And then, just let the chips fall where they may. And after a while, it's like, once you're no longer hooked into that either, when they're saying those things to you, you get that freedom as well. So again, looking at yourself of like, why am I getting hooked in? Perhaps this person has, in a romantic relationship, tendencies like your mother or your father had. And so we kind of subconsciously see it as being, oh, here's the opportunity for me to actually get to know my dad or get to know my mom, because I can go into these, right, with this person and blah, blah, blah. And in reality, right, it's not going to be that healthy for you. So again, being in a relationship with a narcissist or getting hooked into those conversations or those battles, say it's a parent or something like that, that's going to cause us that stress. And that is what's going to cause us to eat or to drink alcohol. This is where the permanent weight loss thing comes in, where this is such a deeper journey than just let's manage your body and weight. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to be on a podcast with this physician who I'm super excited to talk to. She actually does gastric bypass surgeries, but she mandates that her clients, before they do the surgery, go through a program that sounds almost exactly like Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, where she's actually teaching her clients how to do boundary setting. And she's teaching her clients how to manage conversations and communications with family that could be getting in the way. And this is exactly what we're talking about today, is like, if you have people in your life who are creating this amount of stress in your life, or if you have in the past, maybe you already have gotten out of those relationships. And if you have, good for you. It's not an easy thing. Then we need to learn how to not get hooked into those things so that our stress level goes down, or even up level ourselves to a place where we feel good enough that we can remove those people from our lives, or at least severely limit the amount of time that we're spending with them, so that you can feel safe and your body can feel safe. And then you can start making decisions that aren't from this big anxious place or angry place, because we're still arguing with dad subconsciously from our childhood, when in reality, we're just in a relationship with a new person. So huge work to be done. And again, just that mirror, it's like, okay, so I am in a relationship with this, or I am tolerating this type of behavior. If I can't change the way that that person is being, which is where so many of us waste our time. I recently just got presented to how much, I was doing some inner work with the person who does the inner work on our team. And it was like, if I'm in a relationship that is just like two whole, complete human beings that are just like cooking with gas and just great humans, then it will be boring. It'll be sad because there isn't any more work to do. That was what my subconscious was saying. It's like, wow. So I keep being okay with these fixer-upper relationships, okay, versus realizing that, like, okay, my job is not to fix or change any human being, right? All human beings are whole and complete, right? Of course, if I'm coaching someone, or if it's a professional way and they are volunteering to be rewired to get a result that they want, that's different, but not to coach or to change, especially someone who is going to be your lifelong partner. Okay, so we can't change other people. Okay, it's not going to happen. So what payoff are you getting? Do you get to be the martyr? Do you get to be the saint? Do you get to be the winner? Right? Like, is there a subconscious like goal? Like, if I'm able to change that person, or if then I'm able to, then I can, take my hat off to myself and say that I was successful, or, to be able to be the person who's the source of that person's transformation. You're not going to change these people. And the only person that's getting hurt is yourself. So no shame again if you're in those relationships, but let's do that inner work and realize that, like, hey, I'm great. I'm awesome. Okay. I feel like I had a rebirth while I was away at the retreat. At one point, it's so interesting. We talked about our birth stories, and I was taken away from my mom pretty quickly after birth because my fontanelle was not like caved in the way, it wasn't a soft spot, if you will. And so they had to do all this testing. And I had it in my mind that they like took me away to the ICU and did all this testing. Well, then my mom texted me back that I was still in the same delivery room, and it was just for a few minutes. And then they brought me back and I was fine. Right. So, when I was doing one of our meditations during the retreat, it was just like right away, I had this feeling of just being, it was just like a beautiful, easy day, the day that I was born. And, it was like, I got teary eyed. I shed a few tears of being like, I'm here, like mom and dad, like I'm here. And it feels, I had just left a relationship that was no longer in alignment with me as a result of doing the NLP training that I just did over the summer, of me actually integrating parts, like part of me wants to be married and part of me doesn't, and realizing that both parts of me want the same thing, and integrating that. We step into this different realm where it's no longer like making a list of the reasons why I should stay and making a list of the reasons why I should go, but rather like it's just this feeling, and you just step into this different place where it's just like it no longer makes sense. It's just like I couldn't even be with that if I tried. I couldn't, it just doesn't make sense. Right? Because I am aligned. This work is absolutely phenomenal. So also coming back into work now, both having that relationship end and me kind of stepping into that new awareness, but also this new awareness of like, I have arrived. Right. And I know for myself, like, this next chapter is like going to be the best because it's just awesome to get to know that. But I've have all of these relationships in the past that have not been healthy, but I've used every single one of them to be mirrors into myself, versus how can I fix and change them? But oh, if I'm allowing this relationship of negativity and entitlement and arrogance and blah, 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 blah to stay in my space, then there's parts of me that are allowing for this, right? So let me look at those parts of me. Let me do all the inner work that we get at Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, so that I can get to that place where I'm no longer feeling even aligned, and it just makes that decision easy. And I've gotten the most out of that relationship because they have been my greatest mirror to up leveling my game. So no relationship is for nothing. I never look at even my past relationships that were the worst. Like, yeah, I would never do that again. But the lessons that I learned from being in that space, and the how much it pressure cookered me to be who I am today, is awesome. Right. So nothing but gratitude for that. And yeah, and will never be the same again. And my weight keeps going down. Right. And it's been over the course of years of me working on this inner game that relationships have been my greatest mirror to. But this is what the journey is that permanent weight loss journey of, let's actually work on those things that are actually causing the eating to happen subconsciously, versus trying to manipulate it and then having my weight go down and up and down and up in that painful cycle that none of us want to be on anymore. So the work is never ending. It's like unraveling a thread, and there's always more, but life keeps getting better and better as a result of doing that. And food is a non-issue for me anymore. It's a beautiful thing. It's also a thing that I'm not attached to. My weight is, I'm not attached to. I appreciate my body. It's not something I think about. I'm just present and able to enjoy my day-to-day life. And I want that for you. I want you to be able to enjoy life as much as I get to today. Um, and it's all because of doing this work. It's every single thing that we give you in this program. And so I invite you to take some action today, whether it's to share this podcast episode with a friend or a family member, somebody who you know it would make a difference to, or booking a call with us or coming to the Healthy Hypnosis Hour and tracking us down for a way to get a spot on that call. Just take some action for yourself. The journey starts when you do. I love you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.